Today, we're talking about anger. Anger seems pretty straightforward in the moment. You're mad, you feel wronged, you feel justified, you're just plain angry, right? Seems pretty straightforward. Well, not quite. Your anger is actually trying to tell you something, and it's super important. So today, we're going to talk about just that. Stick around. Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Dr. Allison, in case you don't know me or in case you're new here. I am a licensed clinical psychologist and I have pretty much made it my life mission to really simplify psychology, to break down the science to help you live a healthier and more meaningful life. And today we are talking about anger. Now, as we start, I want you to first think about anger as sort of a family of emotions, with cousins, aunts, uncles, siblings. So, the anger family, we would consider frustration, irritation, rage, mad, bothered, annoyed. Did I say irritated? Pissed off, any of that. We'd consider that the anger family. So, when we're talking about anger, we're talking about the whole family. Now, here's the important part. We think about anger as a secondary emotion. That's a really important phrase. We want to think about anger as a secondary emotion. And what we mean by that is that anger is typically a reaction to another emotion or a set of emotions, which we would call primary emotions. So primary emotions would be first you feel hurt, disappointed, betrayed, invalidated, vulnerable, overwhelmed, anxious, afraid. I could keep going here. First, you feel that. And because those primary emotions are too intense, too scary, or too vulnerable, your brain sort of flips those and then it codes them as anger. So it's really important to recognize that anger is a reaction to another or to a set of emotions. So let me give you an example to help clarify this, and I hope my little brother is not watching this week because I'm about to put him on blast for this example. It was a long time ago and we've moved on from this, but I think it really clearly illustrates this idea of anger as a secondary emotion. So anyone who knows me knows that my little brother and I are super close and I'm very overprotective and my life revolves around him entirely too much. So anyway, he was coming in town to Chicago to visit and I was so excited and I made all these plans and I took off work and did all this stuff. And then the day before he was supposed to come in, I get a phone call from him. Typical, he was in college at the time. That was just like, hey Allison, so my plans changed. I'm not going to be spending as much time with you. I have some other friends to see. And he had all these fun plans that didn't include me. As soon as we hung up the phone, I called our dad and for like 2 minutes, I was just like venting and ranting. Like, this is so annoying. He's so self-absorbed. I'm so angry. This is so irritating. And at about 2 minutes in, I felt that anger. I could feel it, benefit of practicing mindfulness. And because I practice what I teach here on my channel, I took a breath and I recognized this anger right now. This is a reaction. Anger is a secondary emotion, and this is a reaction to something else. So, Allison, what are you feeling? What's underneath this anger? And in that moment, I was able to identify, it wasn't that I felt angry and irritated and frustrated. I felt hurt. I was disappointed. I felt a little dismissed and I felt unimportant. If you're watching this and you're thinking, those emotions don't sound enjoyable or pleasant or any more fun to acknowledge, they're not, right? Those emotions are still painful and heavy and difficult emotions. But they're important to recognize because they're what I'm actually feeling. They're the primary emotions. That anger, it's just a reaction to that. So by identifying that hurt and the disappointment and feeling unimportant in that situation with my brother, I could talk with him about it. I could use my coping skills. I could work through those emotions. But when you don't recognize those emotions and you just sit with the anger, it's like a heavy, wet blanket that is not going anywhere. And it's really difficult to move past that. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to use your anger as a cue. Your anger is a little yellow or sparkly flag that's warning you saying, hey, something else is going on here. So when you feel angry, frustrated, irritated, annoyed, bothered, anything in that family, stop, take a breath, and remember that anger is a secondary reaction. It's a reaction to other emotions. So then stop what you're doing and name what emotions are going on underneath that anger. If you're at work and you're annoyed and frustrated because you feel like you don't get the credit you deserve, think about what emotions are underneath that anger. I'm guessing that you feel unimportant, discouraged, or powerless. If you have a friend that keeps flaking and making plans and not following through, and you're just so annoyed and frustrated with them, stop. Remember that anger is a secondary emotion and think about what emotions are underneath that. Again, you probably feel hurt, cast aside, unimportant, or a little bit rejected. If you had a deal or a promise or something that fell through and you're pissed off about it, challenge yourself. Think about what emotions are underneath your anger. I'm guessing that you feel maybe a little bit manipulated or helpless, or you feel betrayed. Even though those emotions are painful and scary and not pleasant to feel, it's important that you do just that. You need to name those and feel those, because then you can move forward and do something about those emotions. Anger will just sit there, and if you try to deal with it, think about it. You're dealing with an emotion that's not really the root cause. It's like dealing with a symptom when you haven't addressed the root cause. Before we end, I want to make one point very clear. This is not to say that anger is bad or anger is negative or you shouldn't feel angry. Anger is an important family of emotions. It's just that anger is a lot more complex than you realize. And anger is trying to teach you something. It's trying to tell you something that, hey, more is going on than meets the eye. So your challenge this week is to use anger as a cue. When you feel angry, frustrated, irritated, annoyed, bothered, I want you to remember anger is a secondary emotion. What I'm feeling right now is a reaction to another emotion. What is that emotion? Challenge yourself to dig deep and name that emotion with as much description and nuance and detail as possible, because only then, when you've named that emotion, can you actually do something about it, begin to heal, or begin to move forward. As always, I am so grateful that you spent your precious time with me here today on my channel. If you want more good stuff like this, simplified psychology to help you live a healthy and more meaningful life, head over to my website, drallisonanswers.com. There is lots of good stuff for you there. I will see you back in 2 weeks with a brand new video. And remember, this week, when you're angry, take notice, little cue, anger is a secondary emotion. It's a reaction. So name what emotions are really going on. It will radically change the way you experience anger. I promise. All right, see you next week. 2 weeks. Bye-bye.